How did Donald Trump win when so many polls showed Harris was in the lead? And why did Americans choose a convicted ex-felon to be their next president? A lot of people, especially my international friends, seem to be confused by what happened. And I can understand why. In today's video, I want to share a San Franciscan's perspective and the 5 reasons why I think Trump won the election. Before I begin, I just want to say that because I'm not a U.S. citizen, I could not vote in the election. But if I could, I would have voted for Harris. Now let's get into it. Reason number 1, the economy. The economy is always the most important issue in any election, and this one in particular, because of inflation. So we've been dealing with inflation for most of the last 4 years, and it has affected everything and everyone. Groceries are more expensive, gas prices have gone up, and housing in the Bay Area is as unaffordable as ever. The inflation in San Francisco from 2020 to 2024 was around 16.4%. That's a pretty big jump, especially for a family with young children. As a result, we're eating out a lot less than we used to because a dinner for a family can easily be over $100 with tips. And don't get me started on the tipping culture. Under the Biden administration, the recovery from COVID has not been great. Initially, the stimulus payments and PPP loans were very helpful for individuals and small businesses and led to a decent recovery in 2021. However, after 2021, there just hasn't been enough done for the average person, and the recovery has pretty much stalled in San Francisco. Having lived there for the last 12 years, the city is not what it used to be. Crime has risen, especially car break-ins and robberies. It just feels less safe to be in the city. The homeless problem has gotten a lot worse. Where it used to be in a few neighborhoods, now is pretty much everywhere downtown. Businesses are still closing left and right, including Macy's, a lot of the major retailers and malls in Union Square, and also lots of restaurants and bars, even in our neighborhood. It's gotten to the point where it's hard to find food after 10 p.m. in downtown San Francisco because all the restaurants are closed. This just doesn't feel like a first world city anymore. And leading up to the election, the Democrats just did not provide a clear vision on how to deal with these problems. Harris kept talking about the opportunity economy. What does that even mean? The overall Democratic messaging around the economy was complicated, unclear, and just did not connect with voters. On the other hand, Trump's America First policies did connect with the voters. He spoke in simple language about bringing back manufacturing, raising tariffs on Chinese goods, and ending illegal immigration. It doesn't matter if these policies won't work. The more important thing is that's what the voters cared about. Reason number 2, people just didn't like Biden or Harris. Biden was not a popular president. Leading up to the election, his approval numbers were barely around 40%. And you need at least 50% for your party to have a chance at the election. And only 28% of Americans thought the country was on the right track. Biden is also not charismatic. He doesn't come across as a strong leader. And on top of that, he was clearly in mental decline, which the Democrats just chose to ignore. And then when Biden eventually stepped down, Harris was chosen without a primary, without giving the American voters a chance to voice their opinions. The Democrats just expected their voters to be loyal. But the problem was Harris didn't offer a compelling vision that was different from Biden. To most voters, she came across as aloof or elitist, and didn't connect emotionally with voters. She also didn't have any catchy slogans or memes. New way forward and opportunity economy, it just didn't work. To many voters, voting for Harris was just like having 4 more years of Biden. And this showed in the voting. In California, Biden won 63.5% of the votes in 2020. Kamala Harris only won 57.5%. That's a 6% swing in the other direction. And in San Francisco, Biden won 85.3% of the votes in 2020, and Harris only won 80.6%, almost a 5% loss in one of the most liberal cities in the country. Reason number 3 is the MAGA movement and Trump's appeal. What we learned from this election is that people don't care about who Trump really is. They don't care about the insurrection on January 6th. They don't care about the criminal conviction. And they don't care about all the line. To me, it's almost like he's a religious figure, that people support him based on faith more so than reason. And in addition, the assassination attempts, I think, helped him. It activated his base to be even more in support of. Compared to Biden or Harris, He comes across as a strong, straightforward leader for the average person who are tired of politicians and elitists who are part of the deep state. And I have to give it to him. Trump is a much better speaker. His popular tone and simple language connects with the average voter. His Make America Great Again and America First slogans resonated with the voters and were easy to share. And more importantly, he speaks to the issues that his voters truly care about. If you watch any of his rallies, you can see that he speaks on his voters' level. He makes them feel heard. He makes them feel important. And he makes them feel good. As Maya Angelou once said, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. Besides the MAGA movement, Trump also saw a lot more support from minorities and low-income families. These are the groups that struggle the most since 2020. And in addition, Trump saw growing support from Silicon Valley. People like Elon Musk, Mark Andreessen, Peter Thiel have all come out in support of Trump. Point number 4, and the most important point, is that Democrats just got the issues wrong. Before the election, based on polling, the 4 main issues Americans cared about were the economy, immigration, abortion, and the state of democracy. As I mentioned earlier, the Democrats just whiffed on the economy. They did not offer clear solutions to everyday problems. They did not offer a vision for change, and it was going to be more of the same. Democrats also whiffed on immigration because they didn't pay enough attention to it. Surprisingly, most minorities are quite conservative when it comes to immigration, especially ones that immigrated here legally. If they spend years doing things the right way, why are illegal immigrants now getting to shortcut the process? And this was evident in the voting. Trump won Starr County, the most Latino county in the country, by 16 points. So instead of focusing on the economy and immigration, the Democrats chose to focus on abortion. And based on numbers, it was the most important issue to only 12% of Americans. After the election, we saw that Harris won 53% of the female votes. However, that's down from the 57% that Biden won in 2020. How do you lose votes by focusing on abortion? Personally, to me, it feels like the Democrats have gotten too woke and Americans have had enough of it. What this shows is people don't care about liberal values or political correctness if it means their lives are not going to improve day to day. Before I get to the last point, I just want to explain why I'm making this video. On this channel, I'm chronicling our family's move from San Francisco to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And the thoughts and opinions I'm sharing in this video has a lot to do with why we decided to leave the US. The last reason why I think Trump won the election is on foreign policy. Trump and Harris were very different when it came to foreign policy. Trump, of course, was America first, whereas Harris mostly wanted to keep things the same. The 3 main issues came down to Ukraine, Israel, and China. Trump supported ending support for NATO and getting out of the Ukraine war, which at this point I can understand because it's essentially a bottomless pit to throw money into. And most Americans would rather that money be spent here. However, surprisingly, Trump also supports Israel, whereas Harris supports a 2-state solution. And this, I think, makes sense because of the strength of the Israel lobby, which can swing elections just based on your policies. Trump supports tariffs on China, whereas Harris is not in favor of tariffs. I personally believe that the tariffs won't work and actually will be hurtful to America in the long run. But I understand that to most voters, tariffs seems like a solution. Overall, I don't think foreign policy was a deciding factor in the election, but I think it did swing a few votes over to Trump. Those are the 5 reasons from a San Franciscan's perspective on why Trump won the election. This is probably the last political video I will make, but I just wanted to share my thoughts on this because it's been on my mind. I'm not a political expert, and I want to hear what you agree or disagree with what I shared in this video. Thank you for watching, and I will get back to making videos about moving to Malaysia. Bye.